On today's episode of Let's Talk Dog Business, we are joined by the amazing Hannah Molloy. We are going to be talking about how to find your purpose and how character development is really important to grow your business. So today we are joined by Hannah. So hi, Hannah. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, ladies. It's so nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, amazing. So for those people who may not know who you are then, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm Hannah Molloy and I am a canine behavioural therapist, as many people claim to be, don't they, in this day and age? I've got a degree in animal behaviour, so I learned about animal behaviour at degree level, and then I worked for Dogs Trust and went on to run a really successful dog training company. So I've trained 10,000 dogs in 10 years. Then I was fortunate enough to have been put on telly, and I did some telly on Channel 4 on a show called Puppy School. And then I wrote a book, which I like a lot, called What's My Dog Thinking, which is all about dog body language and behaviour. And now I do all sorts of things. I coach canine professionals. I've written the UK's first qualification in dog body language, and I am the dog behaviour specialist for the all-party parliamentary group for dog welfare, which all sounds very serious, doesn't it? So yeah.
That's
a resume, isn't it?
That is impressive. Wow. How do you know you've trained 10,000 dogs? Is there like a little tally going somewhere?
It's like a spreadsheet of them all.
I counted weirdly in lockdown when it got to the stage where I was like, Hannah, do you need to keep running this business in this way? And, you know, when everything got a bit quiet, we went back through the client intakes, and I was like, oh yeah, I've done over 10,000 dogs. Like, that's wow.
That is a lot, isn't it? For one of you, or is there a team of you?
Yeah, so we grew. So that's me and all the trainers that I've trained. So that's incorporating those in my company. So yeah, I umbrella them because all of my trainers, some of them had never trained dogs before they worked with me. They were volunteers and then they became dog trainers. And it was only sort of the last 2 years that I took a step back and really was watching them training dogs rather than being in the field and helping. So yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that journey, about how you grew the business and how you formed that team? Sure.
So, I mean, it has to start from the place of grace, because I said actually on your Facebook page recently and didn't talk about that in any more, but my whole business has been under this banner of grace. You know, I've had a lot of what we might call undeserved favour. And I think if you're trusted with a little, you get given even more. And that's something that I've learned definitely when it comes to business. So, you know, when I first started my business, I'd just come out of Dogs Trust, and I was just shocked at the lack of education in the UK. And I was like, if everybody understood how to read body language, oh my goodness, wouldn't we live in a different world? People wouldn't be getting bitten. They wouldn't be bringing dogs back to rescue. So that was always the heart that I started my business with, is if I can retrain the world to understand how to read dog body language and how to shape behaviour and learn that their behaviour, if I can empower their choices, then they can train dogs much faster and without using so much punitive sort of technique. And so that was the heart behind starting my business. And I was pretty plucky and again, given grace. So my uncle just so happened to phone me and say, have you got a business that's worth investing in? Right at the point that I was like, what am I going to do now? Working for a charity was a lot actually. And like, how do I now move this into the world? And he said, would you like me to invest? Have you got something worth investing in? And I was like, yeah, two things, a training business or a television show. So I pitched him the TV show that I had in mind.
That was my other question. How did you get into that? You can answer it for me now.
Yeah. Well, it was progression. You know, I think I always wanted to do a TV show, right? When I came out of uni, Cesar Millan was very big on telly and I watched him, and in the early stages of my career was just as like, wow, as the general public are like, that's amazing. He is magic. Then eventually your behavior brain starts ticking and you're like, what? Wait, what? What's happening? What is he doing? There's learning theory being applied behind this technique. And I was like, this is horrendous. You've got people going on way before he arrives to teach the animals to respond to the sound that he's making. This is not magic. This is horrendous. So I said, look, if you know, if Caesar Milan can Darren Brown everybody One Direction, then surely we can flip it and take them back towards positive reinforcement methods and science, you know, kindness. And so that was always my heart. I was like, TV can do that. It's possible. And that was at uni. So that was kind of working in the back of my mind. And when I worked at Dog Stress, I was like, why don't you do a TV show? You just got the money. Come on. Like, you could fix this situation. They were like, calm down.
These sparky little things come out of uni.
A lot of lovely ideas, Hannah, but you're not going to change anything that quickly. And I was like, we'll see. And so, yeah, that was always in the back of my mind. My uncle, God bless him, when I said, let's do a TV show, was like, I wasn't quite thinking that much money. How about I give you $5,000 and you can start a business? And I was like, so again, grace, right? And I bought a laptop and I made some business cards up and I got some branded clothing, and I literally just started walking around parks in Birmingham with a clicker and a bag full of treats, being like, can I just show you what I can do in 5 minutes?
Oh my God, I love this.
I was like, hello, can I show you what I can teach a dog to do in 5 minutes? And then gave them a card and then moved on. And I would do that. And then I must have bumped into the right person, because I got invited to do an event at the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. Was it the Diamond Jubilee? One of them, that was in Cannon Hill Park, big park in Birmingham. Mm-hmm. So I had this huge place to sort of launch my business from. So I was like, okay. And then the head of parks in Birmingham came up to me and said, can you help us to reduce the dog bite incidence in Birmingham parks? And I was like, yes, I can. So they put me in Birmingham parks, and nobody else had been given this grace. Again, grace. Like all I did was show up. Mm-hmm. You know, I think there's something in that, showing up. Yeah. And then I showed up every weekend and every morning to run training classes for 10 years. And you quickly go, well, I need other humans.
Yeah.
You have to teach people. And I was really good at training dog trainers to be independent. And that was not my original heart. My heart was that they might just expand this company that I was designing. But what I realized I was really good at doing was training people to be independent. So they'd come and learn from me for about 18 months, and then they'd go and either get a job somewhere else or set up their own business. And I was like, 15 times I did this. And then I went, wow. I think maybe I'm doing this wrong. I just need to be a proper professional coach. So yeah. How did I get on telly? Was that the question?
Yeah. Tell us that journey as well.
So that was very strange. Again, I have to say this is grace. So, you know, I think there was a point in my career where I'd worked with a lot of trainers already. I'd maybe 6 years into my company at this point, and Perfect Dog Sense was working really well. I would get regular phone calls. I never had to advertise my business. I just didn't. People would phone me. It was word of mouth. It was easy. And then around 2016, just after I turned 30-ish, everything went wrong in my life. Like, it was a really weird time where I suddenly found myself literally, my car had been like clamped because of a parking ticket or something that I didn't realize that I'd had. So I suddenly got into like £1,800 worth of debt because the DVLA like clamped me twice in a week. A relationship that I was in was failing. And my phone stopped ringing. Like, it was weird. I'd just taken on one of my first trainers as like a full-time employee. So I had to get her work. And then when I broke up with a partner, I found myself homeless for about 9 months. And then my puppy became dog aggressive. And I was like, look, who am I? What's happening? Everything's broken. What is occurring? And I went on a journey of faith, really, at that point. I had a Damascene encounter, is the best way I can describe it, with Jesus. And I became a Christian at that point. And I was like, I believed in manifestation before that. Like, I can manifest all of the things in my life that I need. And it was almost like the universe, as I referred to God as then, the universe was not providing. No matter how much I tried to manifest this stuff into my life, I found that it wasn't working. And so I went on a very humbling journey of faith and discovered that, you know what, like there's a bigger force behind my life. And so, yeah, I met Jesus. That's a whole story in itself. And then after that, a really weird sequence of events occurred. So I'd been homeless for about 9 months. I had no money. And my brother said to me, you should ask God what to do. And I was like, I've been asking God what to do. He's not talking to me. heard the audible voice of God say, "You're not asking me the right question." And I was like, what? And then he said, "You're supposed to be asking how to get closer to me." And I was like, that's not my top priority, actually. Bizarrely, I want to know where I'm supposed to live. How do I get work to come in? Who am I supposed to date? Why is my dog broken? Like, I thought I had it all worked out, and everything seems to be falling apart around me. And so, I met Jesus, and I started walking with Jesus and just looking at my life and my priorities and my heart. And then I went to a festival, right, to build stages. This is a very bizarre track, but this is
a tangent.
Really what happened in my life. So I went to go and build stages at a festival. Then I came out of that festival, and the system that a friend of mine had been building to automatically book clients into my calendar had started to work. And so I came out of that festival with $2,500 in my bank account because people had just booked my classes and courses. And I was like, whoa. And then a friend phoned me and said, "Do you want to live with me? I've just found this amazing house." So the amount of money that I had was exactly the amount of money I needed to pay my rent and
amazing.
My first, my rent, my deposit, and get some food in. And I was like, wow, like all I have is yours. Everything I have is yours. So then I just went militant. I was like, right, I'm going to turn my business into a CIC. I'm going to donate everything I've built to the community because everything I have is yours. Like, I'm not going to hold on to anything. Like, this is the way I'm going to live my life now. And about a month and a half later, I had a phone call from Channel 4 saying, "Would you like to be on television? Would you like to train dogs on television?" I was like, yes, very much. I've wanted to do that for some time. Actually, yes. They headhunted me. They found me. And then just after I'd done puppy school, I had a phone call from Penguin Random House saying, "Would you like to write a book? And we will send it all around the world." And I was like, yes, very much. I would like to do that. I've always wanted to do that. And so all of the things that have happened in my career, like I will take credit for showing up, and deciding to be brave in situations where I could have run away or been really fearful. But it's grace, absolutely undeserved favor for most of the things that I have been given. They have been a grace straight from God. And I'm super grateful. Yeah.
Oh, what an amazing journey. And I think I love the fact that within all of that, you are saying it is about that showing up and actually putting the work in. And even when times get tough, whether you're religious or not, you have to do the work. You have to show up. You have to put your belief into something, whether that is in, like we say, in a God or in systems to help people book you. There has to be an element of showing up, doing the work as well. And I think in this industry, it's something we're always finding just from talking to as many people as we do now, that people I think they still struggle with that showing up bit. And that's when that burnout bit creeps in. That's when they're starting to feel overwhelmed with everything. And it's just really difficult, isn't it, to show up when you're feeling down and out. And yeah, it's just really...
Life's against you. I mean, you're obviously a very driven person. Would you agree with that?
I mean, I've done Strength Finders. If you've never done Strengths Finders, I highly recommend it. It's like a £20 book that you can buy, and you do an online test, and it will show you what your top 5 strengths are. And one of my strengths is achiever. So yeah, absolutely. I think that is one of the things that has been hardwired into me, is to want to achieve. And so metrics of success, I think, for me have been something that I've always sort of adapted. So when I came out of uni, I think my metric for wealth, I was like, I'll be rich when I can afford a massage once a month and I can do a job that I love. Like that, like those were my metrics for wealth. Like I'll be happy then. And then I think at 24, I was like, I've done it. I can afford a massage once a month and it's not breaking the bank and I do a job I love. Okay. So now what? And I think if you're going to, I think ultimately success is a really interesting concept, and what you define as success, if you're growing, if you're in a growth journey, will continuously shift. And my metric for success now is not necessarily financial. I mean, it's never been financial gain. It's not what's motivated me. It's important to run a business well. You need to make money. But I don't think I could ever look at an amount in my bank account and be like, oh, there we go. Like, looking around and knowing that I'm surrounded by relationships that I enjoy. That's now my metric for success, you know. And I love working with trainers because of that, because everybody has got a different metric of what success looks like, what would make me happy. And I think it's good to chase that dream, whatever it is, actually. Because if it isn't the right metric, you'll get to it and then go, oh no, that didn't work. Actually, what is the next metric for success that I should be looking for? And yeah, it's a fascinating journey to walk on when I coach trainers and behaviourists, because everybody's learning, aren't they? And growth is constant. So yeah, I think showing up every day, and receiving kindness, that's been a big one for me this year. I don't think you can be very kind to other people if you have stopped yourself from being able to receive kindness from other people. I think that's really important too. It's character development, mate. Above all else, you know, you can have the most successful business in the world, but if you haven't been working on your character, at some point you will feel burnt out, I think, because you've the wrong priorities in order, and then burnout happens. Like, we've all been there. We've all got to a point where we've just been like, this is too much. I've overdone it. I've tunnel vision down one path far too much, and then you need a minute to take a step back and review, where am I going? What is my why? Why am I doing this business? What motivates me every day? So yeah.
So would you describe the measure of your success then as the life you've been able to create for yourself through the journey you've had?
Yeah, I think when I came out of uni, I wanted to be a dolphin trainer, right? I went into uni because I wanted to be a dolphin trainer, because my parents, when I was about 15, were like, you can do anything, which is a wonderful thing to tell your kids. And I was like, all right, then I'm going to be a dolphin trainer, because I've just seen Flipper on TV and on animal training movies right in the 80s.
And I want to challenge the careers lady. See what she says.
Yeah, it was a truculent career move. I'm not going to lie. My parents were like, all right then. And then when I came out of uni with a degree in animal behaviour, and Blackfish, the documentary, came out, and I was like, ooh, that's a tricky industry, actually. The phrase that came out of my mouth, and you should always listen to the words that you say because they speak your heart, right? What I said to myself was, I'm never going to change the world training dolphins. And that was my metric. That's been my bar. So success for me is whether I have changed the world over my lifetime. That's, I mean, how do you measure that? It's an interesting one, isn't it? I think day to day success for me is, have I shown up for the person that I'm in front of? Have I been able to be kind and loving, and have I been present for the person that I'm talking to? Because you know, you could, if success is changing the world, and I've got a book that an internationally recognized publishing company has translated into loads of different languages, like, I could lose my heart just on that. Like, that's such a huge...
See the passion in you talking about that, actually.
It's amazing. Well, it's amazing. Like, that's amazing. If that's what changing the world looks like. But really, for me, changing the world looks like people being kinder to their dogs, you know? And I remember just before I got the call from Channel 4 about puppy school, that really made such a huge difference to my life, definitely. I remember walking to Kingsheath Park in the morning and going, you know what, God, like, if you want me to just walk to this park every day, I say just, but if you want me to spend the rest of my life coming to this park and training 8 dogs at a time, I'll do that. Like, that's worth it. You know, these 8 people, or this one-to-one that I do, this one family, this hour, this moment that I'm working with this person is enough. Like, it's valuable. It's valiant work. And that'll do. And I think, and I don't think you can earn merit in that way with, if you believe in a God then, but I think there was something in that, me just letting it go and going, do you know what, this is enough. This is enough. The next person is enough. And that's it. I think when we run big businesses, you really need to remember, what is the point? Where was your first love? Come back to your first love. Why did you want to work with dogs, or why did you want to get into your business? What was it that made your heart sing and set you on fire? Because if you lose sight of that, or you stop doing it, then yeah, what's the point, eh? Life's for living, and let's do it for what we love. So yeah.
No, I completely agree with that. And I think it's something that people, when they're looking at their businesses, they don't do it enough. They don't look at that bit and go, why am I doing it? What am I wanting to achieve from it? Because I think a lot of people, like, because we ask everybody who comes on board and works with us as our coaching clients, like, what do you want to achieve? And it's almost like you get the surface level answer of like maybe this much revenue, this much profit, maybe so many days a week I want to work. And it's all the
bit more holiday, bit more time with my husband or wife or whatever.
That's it. And it's all the stuff, isn't it? It's not that's not going to motivate you to get up every day. Because let's say you've set a target for, I don't know, your 50K a year or 100K or whatever it is you're striving towards. What are you willing to do to get there? And again, you could say, I only want to work 2 days a week and for an hour each day. But if your motivation to do like, you're going to have to put some graft in to get that. It doesn't just come, and you've got to have that inner drive, that inner motivation to want to get there as well, and then see what you're working towards for the outer bit. And I just think it's a good chunk of work that I want to generalize it and say that the majority of people do not do.
Yeah.
It's hard, isn't it? I think a bit like dog training, it can look easy if you're just seeing the end result and you go, ta-da, the dog did the thing. And the same with a good business. I think if you've been working really hard at it, it looks clean and slick, and people go, oh, I can just copy that basically, and it should work. But really, if you're going to run a pet business, I honestly, you can go through metrics and you can go through, I've got some great tools that I use. So one of them, for example, is 3-12-3. I don't know do you guys do this, or have you heard of this before? If not, you can have it because it's really helpful. But
tell us more.
And you just say, right, 3 months, 12 months, 3 months. So you look back over the last 3 months and you go, what have I achieved in the last 3 months? And what strengths of mine have I utilized to achieve those things? Because we are terrible at celebrating ourselves, I think, especially if you're in an intrinsically motivated industry. So if you just love seeing a dog being cheerful, you're intrinsically motivated to see people cheer up or to see a dog master something. You're going to be probably pretty bad at going, what did I do well last week? Because you're always looking at helping other people if you're intrinsically motivated like that. So look back 3 months. What have I achieved? What of my skills was used to achieve those things? And then you do some time travel and you go forwards 12 months and you go, okay, good morning. It is the 23rd of April, 2025. And what have I done in the last year? And you write a list of all the things that you'd like to have achieved in a year. And then you come back to the present moment and you go, right, what do I need to do in the next 3 months to achieve those things in the next year? And I regularly do that with myself and with other people that I work with, or give it as a tool to my trainers to use, because it helps to kind of keep you on track with checking in with those goals and goal setting, and celebrating yourself as well and looking back and doing that. But honestly, above all of those tools and all of those skills and everything else, I think character development is the most important thing you can do as a dog trainer and behaviourist. The amount of trainers that I meet who are wonderful with dogs, and they go, yeah, but people do my head in.
Yeah.
It's a common theme.
It is, isn't it? We forget there's people involved, don't we?
No. Unless you want to work in a kennels, isn't it? Or, you know, a board and train, you're going to be hanging out with people. So that sometimes you need to just take some time to look at what your barriers with people are. Genuine, get some evaluated feedback from a coach. Get a coach. Always have a coach. I think it's super important, so that someone can hold you lovingly in a space where they go, okay, I think what you meant to say was this, but what it came across as was this. And maybe there are other ways that we can get to improve that communication style with your client. Or it's a tricky area. But yeah, character development. Do things that make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You can look back and go, I did it. I was brave, I did it anyway. Yeah.
I do it. I regularly sit in the uncomfortable.
Well, she drags me into the uncomfortable. I used to sit in the very comfortable before I met Joe.
But it's like, I'm a massive believer, and I'm so happy that you said it, that like having a coach on board, because I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't invest in that character development in myself, if I didn't invest in people to help me with my business. Likewise with Vic, exactly the same. And now we continuously invest. We're even saying today, it's like, oh, we're going to actually have to go and get some more money coming in so we can reinvest it in this thing that's upcoming. I'm not saying what it is yet, but it is upcoming. But we need to do all of that stuff so that we can grow. And we know it is an investment, and it is scary, isn't it? Because it's not just an investment in money, it's in your time and going into the uncomfortable, where a lot of people do not like to sit.
But if you don't ever do anything uncomfortable, you'll never grow and never change and never have the dream life that you want, will you?
Exactly. It's so true. And, some people do, I had a heart-based investment to start my business, which was again, I think it was a gift, a grant, you might say. Here's $5,000 to start. And actually that love was enough to keep me going. I was like, yeah, someone believes in me. I'm going to, you can't, as I say, you can't earn grace. It's a gift. But if you take out a loan, for example, so many people who've taken out a bounce back loan, me included, to grow their business, that investment, that like, I trust myself enough to say that this is worth it financially. And I'm going to keep pushing because I know that what I'm going to come out with is going to be worth it. I think until you step into the scary, a little bit of the scary, that's where you test yourself in the fire a little bit. And it is worth it. Absolutely. Always. But you got to know where you want to go. And I think I completely agree with you, ladies. You should always be teaching somebody, I think, and learning from somebody. You should always have a coach.
Yeah. It's changed my life. Like I can't underestimate how much it's changed my life with welcoming into that kind of business world and looking at it slightly differently. And stepping, going back to the coach thing as well, it's somebody looking from outside into your business. It's like scary because somebody's going, do you know how this really looks on the outside? And you're like, oh, I'm so in it that I hadn't really realised that it looked like that.
I'm so precious about that website I've built myself. Just do it yourself. I don't have to invest in it as much, but I've poured my heart, sweat and tears into that thing.
And don't you dare pick it apart and say that you don't like the colours or you don't like the messaging or whatever it is. But you need to hear it, because if you don't, you're never going to learn from it at all, are you? So I think it's huge, that mentoring, coaching. We wouldn't do what we do without our mentors and coaches. So
absolutely. And you know what? Take good criticism where it comes, because it's love, right? I remember when I was on puppy school with Ollie, just who is no longer with us and I miss deeply, but he, God bless him, like by comparison in the way that we work, I was like this. My tagline for my old business was love pets, not profits. And I genuinely thought at a point of running Perfect Dog Sense that, to run a non-profit meant that you need to not make profit. And that's not true. By the way. To run a non-profit, you need to not keep the profit.
You still need to make it.
Yeah. It's whether you choose to keep it.
You reinvest it rather than take it from yourself, which is what I was doing for a long time. And Ollie did the maths on my hours and my wages. And he was like, Hannah, do you know that is your hourly rate? And I was like, shut up. I don't want to hear it. Because a lot of my metrics were, non-fiscal value. And I think there's something in that too. Yes, there's fiscal value. Yes, learning how to do business well is something that the pet industry desperately needs more education in. Absolutely. The groomers that I work alongside, to just get them to raise their prices by $5, they're like, oh, no one will ever come back. I'm like, everybody needs their dog screams. They will definitely come back.
There's more curly dogs in the world than ever in history.
You need the time to have compassionate care for this animal. Put your price up, make the time, it's okay. But yeah, there's also non-fiscal value. But having Ollie just be like, Hannah, this is your hourly rate. And I was like,
I remember Ollie having a conversation with me about you on that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. And, and it's hard because when I first got into business, when I came into the industry of pet behaviour, I was shocked at the way that the industry looked. So at that point, a behaviourist would go and do a 2 to 3 hour consultation with somebody for £200 to £300, which is not far off what I now charge, which is typical. But this was, say, 2008 I graduated. So this is a while ago. It was quite a lot of money, £300 back then. And they would do the consultation, and a bit like a specialist in medicine, they would write up a really long behaviour report. Some behaviourists still do this way. And they'll write a really long behaviour report with lots of very technical information. And they give that to a human being who has no idea how to read it, and a vet who has no idea how to read it. And they go, there you go. There's my clinical behavioural analysis of your situation. And the client goes, okay. And I would come and find these clients, and they're like, I know why he has a problem now, because I have this like 16-page document, but I don't know how to fix it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's not going to work. You know, you need regular sessions like you would have a therapist. So I need to work out what my hourly rate needs to be for you to be able to afford to see me regularly. And that is such a difficult balance, isn't it, for trainers and behaviourists to draw, of the, you know, value proposition to the client, your level of input and how much investment you've put into your education, and actually it working to solve the training or behaviour problem. So there was always that running in the back of my mind. I was like, I never want to be, I don't ever want behaviour to be gentrified. Like it shouldn't be a case of you can afford good quality advice. Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to make it cheap enough that anybody can learn. And it cost me a lot for a long time. And now I've learned, and now I have the savvy to go, well, I've created products that are really cheap, that you can get my education for very little money. And then I have mid-range products, and I have me one-to-one, and that's really valuable, hanging out with me one-to-one. So that's the most expensive thing you can buy. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that is actually a really important message to touch on. So we are in an industry where everyone is incredibly fearful of raising their prices. Mm-hmm. And we're always saying that, yes, it's a factor that we need to do that, but it's not as easy as just doing that. It shouldn't just be a case of keep doing what you're doing, but just raise everything. There has to be a whole strategy behind it. There has to be a case of, you know, we very much believe in a model that if you are sub kind of that 6-figure mark, make it really simple so that you know how to run your business. The clients really understand what it is they're getting from you. So you can do that lovely value proposition and just make everything nice and easy. And then as you start to grow, and I think this is really important for people to hear, that your business has to make money so that you can deliver that value, so that you can offer all of the lower investment stuff to reach more people. But if you start there, you're a bit scuppered because you're never going to make anything. You've got no time. You're going to lead yourself to burnout. The industry never improves because everyone's just fighting over a tenner here and there. Yeah. And it's just really painful to sit and watch.
It's not going to deliver those results the client wants either.
No. So we're always a big believer in, like, do you know what? We will have a premium program, and it will pay itself back when the business is making enough money that you can reinvest it back into the community, reinvest it back into creating assets that are a low investment then to reach more people. Mm-hmm. But you have to actually look at your business as something to make money, and it's not a dirty word to use. It's life. You've still got to pay your bills. You've still got to feed your kids. You've still got to feed your dogs. You've still got to do all the stuff. You still want to invest in your CPD. You still want to invest in your character development. How are you going to do all of that if you're not running a profitable business?
Mm-hmm. It's true. I remember one of the best things that one of my mentors said to me at the point at which I switched from running Perfect Dog Sense to Amplified Behaviour, which is my consultancy now. And he said, Hannah, do you have a trust fund? And I was like, no. Why? And he was like, because you're acting like you have one. It was really sweet.
That's a good way to put it.
True. You know, he's like, and the thing is that, again, this is why I do come back down to character development, because a lot of the time there'll be a really unhelpful lie that is working as programming underneath your behavior. We know this, right? If you've got a client who's like, I can't possibly take my dog down to that park, there's a fear, there's a lie that you kind of have to look at and pop before you can push past that goal, you know. And I think for a lot of people, when it comes to putting their prices up, it is about your value and it is about your worth. And so there is something there in being able to spend some time remembering how important you are. And Lord love them. Without coaches, I had, you know, 3 amazing coaches and mentors who sat around me at a point that, again, because I've done a lot of things for free, they actually coached and mentored me for free, and they called themselves the board you can't afford. Very kind. And I went on to take on one of them as a professional coach and carried on down that route. And, you know, when it comes to coaching and mentorship, they are going to sit and show you your value. If you're underneath someone who like cares enough about you to go, wow, you do that really well. Do you notice that you do that too? And this and this and this, and really you're this important. And actually you need to start looking at this. And even though I'd been on national television, I was like, why? Okay. I need to face up to some of this stuff that I've been believing for a really long time, because it's in the way of me being able to provide value. And then I started pitching, you know, for consultancy and writing qualifications for various companies, and people were happy to pay what I was pitching them. And I was like, cool. Who knew? Sometimes you absolutely need coaching. I think everybody in the world of dog business needs coaching. It's so important for your development as a business. Yeah.
I just want to touch on your TV experience. I did a little TV experience, and this isn't to just basically like promote myself. I'd rather people didn't watch it, to be honest, because I didn't feel like it was very good.
I only realised you did this the other day as well. So I'm like, what?
It used to be all over my website. But you know, when people think that people will come flooding in if you've just done something or you have a product or a service. That's what happened to me when I was on the TV. So I did this really short, like 6-minute segment on a program it doesn't even exist anymore. But, and it was a great experience. And I was like headhunted a bit like you know, they came and found me and I was like, oh, really? Little old me, you know.
My time.
Yeah, it is my time. And I remember people around me saying, do you know what's going to come off the back of this? You're going to be on TV all the time. You're going to get all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God. So all I did was stick it on my website, didn't promote it. It was like a while ago. So you were limited. There was like a lack of social media and stuff, but I could have used that and I could have like leveraged that so much better. And I didn't. And I was just like, oh. And I'd be sat there waiting for the phone to ring and the knocks at the door. And I just didn't do anything with it. And I went, well, that didn't work, did it? So that was my attitude of like, well, TV doesn't work. Like, what's the point in that? And I think that a lot of people, when they try, dog trainers or like professionals in general, they'll try something or they'll do an online course. They'll create that and then they'll go, let's just wait to see all these people that are going to buy it. And it doesn't work like that, does it? You have to back to the showing up, back to the consistency, back to the putting the graft in and the hard work in to get the results from something amazing like that opportunity. You need to do something with it.
Absolutely. And again, if you steward the things that you're given, if you're trusted with a little, you'll get a lot. And that is the thing, you know. And we've all done it, created a product or been like, ta-da, I did it. I put one post up on social media. I don't want to flood everybody with it. I don't want to annoy them. But actually you do need to regularly go, I believe in this. I still believe in it. Do you know this thing that I do? I like it. I still believe in it. You should probably get it because it's really good for you. And I get it. Not everybody has a passion to do that. It is quite exhausting, but that's when you have choices. You could hire somebody else to do that for you if you know that isn't your skill set, it isn't your passion. Running a business well is honestly about going, what am I good at? What am I not good at? What do I want to spend time learning more about, because I don't want to pay somebody else to do that for me? Like, how much do I want to be malleable to learn how to do that? Or actually, is that going to, like, for me, tax, back end of websites? I'll pay other people to do those two things for me until the end of time, because they're not They suck my soul.
Yeah.
You know, there's some things it's worth just pay someone else to do it. You don't need to do it. Content, I'll never let anybody else write my content. Number one, because I love it. And number two, because I love it.
Good enough reason.
I like it. Nobody's going to do it the way that I do it. So, you know, figure out what you love doing and do more of that. Figure out where the holes are and then fill those holes. But a lot of that is taking the time to take a step back sometimes and look at the whole picture instead of being right close to the picture that all you can see is brushstrokes, and you're getting so distracted by this little piece of your picture that taking a step back, you're like, sorry, what was I painting again? What was that?
Yeah, that's such a great analogy, actually, because we get that a lot, don't we? Where people are spending so much time on things that they go, well, I think this is what I need to do. And we're like, no, you don't. Like, forget that a minute. Just look at, what is it that you're offering people? What message are you trying to put across? Like, focus on that first. Then you can deal with the other little things. Or, like you say, get somebody else in to sort that for you, if it takes too much time.
Yeah. It comes back to this whole thing of overwhelm, though, doesn't it? Like, there's so many messages to hear from everybody out there. And it's how do you select which ones you want to, which I suppose can come back to your own internal values and who you feel that you connect with the most. But really trying to look at it as well and go, like, so I always like to ask myself a question of, like, how do I think that person who I'm now about to follow on social media or I'm about to connect with or whatever it may be, how do I feel that they are going to improve my life? Rather than, oh yeah, I'm kind of either just like a bit nosy or just want to do it. And then all of a sudden my whole social media is flooded with all the stuff I don't want to see or hear. Mm-hmm. So then I'm like, no, this is not good for me. And I hated social media for ages, but it's because I was in that trap of, you kind of, when it came a big thing, we were like, oh, look, Facebook's now a thing. I can connect with all these people that I don't know. And it's not chatting to them on, what was it? MSN Messenger?
Yeah.
I love MSN Messenger.
You used to have like your title name and some song lyrics or something, and it was just ridiculously long. God. So yeah, it's trying to find out who you're going to connect with the most, who is actually going to help you on that journey, I suppose, of really trying to figure out your motivation, figure out that why, figure out everything so that you can do that longer term plan. Because I loved it when you first started speaking, like you knew your purpose from day one. Like, as soon as you set foot in that Dog's Trust, you knew you had all these things in you. Didn't know how you were going to get there, but we know it. And I think if we're all honest with ourselves, we all have that in us. And it's just having that confidence and that ability and that support network around you that's going to bring that out. Because when we wanted to launch this business, we were talking about it for a good 12 months. And we were like, oh, what are we going to do? Like, oh, how's it going to be received? Oh, all the scary stuff. But we could identify it as the scary stuff. So we was like, no, let's just get it all out and then do it. All right, what's the worst that's going to happen? Is this following our purpose? Yes, it is. So let's just do it.
But for us, it was a lot about strategy as well. Like, we hadn't found the right path. Like, we were testing things out. We were doing a bit of that. We were doing a bit of this. And we're like, it's just not quite right. And we had advice from different mentors, coaches, whatever. And we picked out what we needed to from those people. And we were like, now we've got it. Like, it clicked, didn't it? When we started recording the podcast, it was like, this is it. This is the thing that we need to do to get the next step, and then the next thing after that, and the next thing after that. So it's now become this really like cohesive, like jigsaw puzzle that's coming together. But probably the first 6 months of the business, we hadn't really got that much of a clue. No. We kind of knew the end goal, but we didn't know how to get there. Like, we didn't know the journey to get there.
Yeah. And isn't that fun?
Yeah. It's stressful, but it is fun. And I think it's really trying to hone that message in to everyone listening who is in your business and is thinking, oh my, where do I start? What's going on here? It's okay to feel like you're in muddy water, but find out who can help you get out of the trenches.
Yeah, bit clarity.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of us take it on ourselves as well, don't we? To go, I need to be the one to do everything. And I
The
can't.
industry encourages that as well. Like
Yeah.
we're terrible for being like, look at me, I can do agility and
Octopus
well,
arms.
and I also am
Yeah.
learning this over here, and I can just like that is what the industry has encouraged us to do. And I think until we get better, I'm a strong believer that you can't have competition and collaboration at the same time.
Right.
People that would argue that you can, but I actually don't think that you can. And I've always come with a heart of collaboration. I've never considered other dog trainers as competitive to me, because I am me and they are them, and they're different, and we're all different, and there's no competition. Like, we're all different. And as I've said to every dog trainer that is like, that person's going to poach my clients, I'm like, if every dog owner in the country suddenly asked for a dog trainer tomorrow, there would not be enough dog trainers. Okay. That's the truth. And my heart is to see that we will have a test. There will be a dog ownership test of the future. Okay. A responsible dog ownership test, just like the rest of Europe have got, that keeps everybody safe, so that we understand the theory and practical aspects of owning a dog. And my heart would be to see that every dog trainer in the country is able to deliver those tests to dog owners. So let's just put that in perspective. There is no competition here. And because of that heart, I am now working with people who I live nearby, other companies who live nearby, who will give me work. I will give them work. I'll coach them. And that has changed the way that I interact with loads of other people around me. And I totally agree with you. I think you have to know what's your end goal. Like, where are you? What's your success metric? What is your metric for success right now, in this moment, or even 10 years from now? Mine would have been every human in the UK that has a dog understands how to read its body language. Like that's it. Like, and I've just stuck on that really. And it's got me into Westminster. I mean, that was a weird path. I never
knew it all along, and you knew that you had to get there, but it was finding out how to make that happen.
Yeah. And holding it lightly, and remembering that I'm probably not the only one who's going to make that happen. Yeah. And also going, actually, when you see another company that's putting out really great dog body language education, going, oh, these guys are also great. That's amazing. Yeah. This collaboration, you're doing great work. I love that. Well done. We can share that. We can swap. The journey. It's all about the journey.
I love the journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's changing that to be, oh, they're doing that and I'm not doing it. I need to do something better than they are doing. And that's so common still, isn't it? And it's such a shame.
It is a shame. Like, we would have never have met if that was our personalities.
There you go. Yeah.
So it's like this business wouldn't even exist. No. This podcast wouldn't exist if we hadn't have just reached out and gone, hi, you're close enough to me. How you doing?
Yeah. And it's letting them in, letting people in, being confident enough in what you do that nobody's going to steal your ideas and be you, because they can't be, because you're you and they're them. So the way I look at it is like, you can try if you want, but you're never going to be me. And so I'm quite confident with that and know that nobody's going to do exactly the same.
Do you know what? We need you to be 100% you. Like, I firmly believe, some of this does come back to my faith, but I genuinely believe that every single human being on this planet is a created and incredible human. Like, they have gifts and gold in them and a way of expressing themselves that nobody else was ever supposed to have. And we as a community need you to show up and be 100% you and be the best version of you that you can be. And I, for one, am never going to get in the way of you being the best version of you that you can be. Like, that is it. And yeah, it's not easy. We live in a culture that, and social media has not helped. It encourages comparison, and I think in a really unhelpful way. And I really do think because of social media, we need to be very aware of how social media can shape our behavior and have a response to it. That's what I'm seeing a lot of right now in the industry, is people desperately seeking content, creating content that, I've always said, what is the point in having loads of followers if you have nothing to say? You know, and equally, there's lots of people who have a lot to say and don't have any followers. So you kind of need both. Yeah. But the danger of things like TikTok is particularly bad, is it is now, you could become an amazing influencer. You could have millions of people follow you and be like 22 and be like, oh, so do you want me to like promote your like lemonade brand or like, and then it flips and the algorithm that was supposed to be there to help you to put your message out is now telling you how to behave and how to actually do another one of these videos. People really liked it when you made them laugh about this particular thing, and humans are quick to learn. So we're like, oh, okay, today I need to make content about this because this is what's going to get me likes. And so you have to be really careful about that, I think, in this generation, is to use social media. Don't let social media use you.
Yeah, that's a great.
It's a good bit of advice. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. If that's how deeply they look at it, they will never be true to themselves and never stick to their values and everything, will they?
It's hard. We have to just be a lot more intentional, I think, these days, and give yourself some boundaries with it and be like, if I'm a content creator, I'm going to create content for this amount of time per day. And because then otherwise you walk through the whole of life going, well, that could be content. Oh, my dog's got a cute thing again. And my dog is sick of being filmed. Like, he's done with it. He's all over my website. God bless him. We did a lot during lockdown and I get a camera out to film him now. He's like, oh, Mom, no. I want to be a dog and like chase and stuff. We go some walks and have some adventures. You know? But be careful, your whole life doesn't turn into content creation when you do that. So yeah,
absolutely. Could we touch on your book a little bit?
Sure.
Because first of all, I want to know. Well, you can give it a plug, obviously, but want to know what drove you to write it in the first place and what opportunities it's given you.
Okay, good question. So. This is my book. It's very pretty. It
looks lovely.
It is very pretty.
By Dorling Kindersley, and it's got a dog on the front. There's two things I didn't choose: the title and the cover. I'm now part of a working group that is trying to help people understand more about brachycephalic dogs, so flat-faced dogs, and the struggles that they have in existing with flat noses. So just aware of that. But I love the book, and it was put together by me, Dorling Kindersley, Penguin Random House, and then this incredible illustrator called Mark. His surname is hard for me to pronounce, but it's at the back of the book. He literally helped to draw all of these. So he would say, like, what's the behaviour we're talking about? And I would say, a dog who won't calm down. And then he'd say, okay, give me a picture of a dog who won't calm down. And I will send him 3 or 4 images. And then we kind of co-drew it. So he would do a sketch and then send it back. And I'm like, no, I kind of need a little bit more of a weird look in their eye. I need whale eye.
Wired.
Pupils and the tongue. I need to be able to see teeth, and so it was a really cool journey to work on illustrating some of these pictures with him. And it's pretty. So the spec that I was given when they phoned me, and you know, if I was going to write a book, I'd always wanted it to be about dog behavior and body language. And they said, can you write us a book about dogs for the Instagram generation? That was my spec, and I was like,
right,
yes. And so the whole point of the book is that it is really accessible, but I'm a geek, so I was like, listen, I can't just write you a series of help sheets on my dog sniffs absolutely everything. I can't do that. I need to give you some extra stuff. So I put in the advanced dog watching spreads. So it looks at things like the ladder of aggression, the prey sequence. So it really starts to spell out, you know, how dogs predate on things. It looks at dog greeting and fair and unfair play, because actually dynamic dog interactions is not stuff that people often talk about. When my dog meets another dog, all the things that can go right and go wrong with that too. So yeah, I loved writing it, and I gave them loads more than they originally, but fabulous. It's got stuff about trigger stacking in it, and understanding different kinds of dog behaviour. So it looks to the untrained eye like a bit of a sort of a gentle introduction to dog behaviour, but I would say actually there's quite a lot of delicious detail in it.
I would say like an overall good handbook for dog trainers.
Just thinking, I think we should do a batch order and give it to our clients.
I think we should. Yeah.
I think so. There's loads of different ways you can write a book. I have to say, because I was commissioned to write a book, in terms of recompense, like finance, it's not the most financially strong model. But yet again, that has never been what motivates me. So I'm not even going to talk to you about the figures that you get when you get published, but you get paid to write the book. Yeah. And then let's put it this way, I will earn the most money by selling it myself. So when I buy these for 50% of their price, and then I sell them on at full price. So that's the way that I make the most money out of this. But do you know what? I've had people send me pictures of my cover in like Finnish and like, I've just found this. It's been translated into Chinese. And I'm like, what? That's so cool.
That's cool, isn't it?
That's a non-fiscal value for me that is more important to me than the money. Yeah. And the opportunities that have come from it is that it's given me an international audience. I think it would have done that anyway, because it went to America first, and then Australia, because it stayed in English. So I had lots of people that started to get in contact with me because they were like, oh, I've read your book. Which is like, you never get used to that. You're like, oh yeah, I think I have your book. So yeah, it's a blessing. I'd love to write another book.
Would you say it's given you more credibility in what you do?
Definitely. I think there's something in saying I'm an author, and people go, oh, okay, that's quite important. Yeah. I also think in this generation, the internet is becoming more and more full of AI-based fake news. And I think in the next 10, 15 years, we are probably going to see a growing distrust with information that you find available on the internet. Yeah. So printed information, I love a book, as you can see.
Yeah, it's a few books behind her for anyone that's just listening to this.
Buying books is one of my hobbies. Reading books is a totally separate hobby. So there's buying them and then there's actually reading them. So I would probably say 70% of the books that I've bought, I've read. There's still that chunky 30% that you're like, oh, one day I'm going to read that. Yeah. But yeah, I do highly recommend writing a book, even writing an online book, and ones that can be printed. They're really, really helpful. Ebooks are super important. And the process of structuring your thoughts into written words is also very helpful. My editor and I had a very interesting relationship, and I learned a lot about myself just by the process of being edited. And I was like, no, that's what I mean. And she's like, yeah, but it doesn't make sense. Like if you just do this and this and this. And I'm like, oh no, that's much better.
But then again, it's like another mentor, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was great to be taught how to write a book by the people who know how to write books. But there's different kinds of writing. So yeah, I think it's a really great process. It was the old school thing, wasn't it? Well, everyone's got a novel in them. One day I'll write my memoirs.
I love it.
We kind of do it on social media now, can't we? We could put together a book of our posts. I think that's going to be books of the future. It's like 3 years of social media posts and how your voice has changed. I think that would be fascinating.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, it would. For where we started, But
no, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think, we touch on this quite a lot in how this industry, everyone seems to be a little bit of a CPD chaser, and how, we've already said, like, we're not investing in the right parts of ourselves or our business. And I think asset creation is something that we are all so poor at in this industry. We're not delivering the content in a way that is going to make you memorable, that's going to make you stand above and but show off your perceived value to your potential clients. And asset creation is something that we strongly advise everybody to start doing, because without it, you are just another person down the road who calls himself a dog trainer, may or may not have a shiny badge on their website saying that they've done this course or this course, may or may not have years or a few days experience, whatever it is. But what's going to make you stand out above that? And I think that's where this price thing, kind of coming back full circle, everyone's like, oh, well, they're not possibly going to pay more than £30 an hour. Well, yeah, because you're not showing them that you're valuable for more than £30 an hour, because you are, air quote, just a trainer that may or may not have a shiny. and may or may not have experienced.
Absolutely.
And that's the message that's out there.
Yeah. And, I did another course recently. It's faith-based and wealth-based. So it was called Wealth with God, which is an interesting concept. And rather than like prosperity gospel, there's a lot of people who are Christians who are like, give me all of your money and I'm going to buy a jet. That is not the vibe. The vibe with this particular course is really looking at your attitude to money and being like, do you think that God, if he knows that you're a good egg, isn't going to want to give you lots of money because you're going to do good things with it? Of course he will. But you need to have something for him to reign on. You need to have planted something for something to be able to grow, for him to, throw love at. And you're absolutely right. One of his basic principles is you're never going to get wealthy by saving money. You start creating wealth by spending less than you earn. That's number one. Spend less than you earn and invest the rest, is this chap called Jim's philosophy. And then he goes on to sort of go, actually, you have 3 different wealth paths that you can go down. You can go down paper. So, stocks and shares and investments. If you've got money to do that with and you've got a long enough period of time, then that will get you wealthy. Number 2 is having a business, because that's free money. If you're doing that well, then it should become free money. And the third is in, real estate is a really great way of doing it. But he says even within business, finding a way of earning money without you needing to do anything is the one. So, I get royalty checks now because I wrote a book. That's really cool. It's really cool. There's people who can learn from me, who will email me from, Alaska and go, I've been doing your online course and I'd love to touch base with you. I get kicks from that, not just because I get paid from it, but because someone is listening to me teaching them while I'm sleeping. That's cool. We need to have products that are able to create revenue. And if what you're trying to do is push, you absolutely need, I 100% agree, assets that are worth it and that will keep paying you. Yeah. Video assets are complicated though, I would say. It's good. You're going to need refreshing. You need to be quite savvy in how you make video assets, because one of my courses right now is a 7-week puppy class that was filmed during lockdown, and that's not going to last for very long. No. You get a lot of value from it because it's me teaching real puppies, real time. But I think you have to be thoughtful about the assets that you're creating and think about the future of the industry and the future of dog owners and what they're going to need as well.
Yeah, definitely. And the podcast was a driving force for us because of the fact it's an asset that hopefully hangs around forever. And when people join listening to us at any point, they can always listen to the earlier episodes and they'll always be there. And so we felt like the value people are going to get out of listening to us, hopefully, talking about all this kind of stuff is, it's worth it for people to make that time investment.
Absolutely. I did, so I have a podcast that I put out called The Future of Dogs. And I did it because I love celebrating people who do things within the dog industry differently. So when I get a season 2 sponsor, I will get you guys on it. But because of that podcast, I was invited to Norway to the International Dog Breeding Symposium because of one of my guests. And they were like, I heard this podcast. I heard about this amazing woman in America. She got invited to this breeding symposium and so did I. And I got to speak at the symposium. So absolutely. Podcasting is a great way of learning loads more. You just learn from every guest that you have. It's wonderful. And teaching people and giving value and loving people. Yeah, I think podcasting is great.
And back to that collaboration, networking, spreading the message. And we wouldn't have met the people we've met if it wasn't for this podcast journey.
No. And I think it's nice because you can bring it all back down to that initial strategy. Like we know what our purpose is and now we're applying the assets and the strategic model and the belief in that process that it's going to get there. And it is a journey and there's going to be bumps in the road. But
there's been a few of them.
But that guiding light is at the end and we know that is our purpose and that's the route we're heading down. And then all the strategic stuff gets layered on top with your character building, with your networking. But underpinning all of it is that collaboration as well, which is something we couldn't do it if we weren't thinking to collaborate with everyone. You just can't make the big changes that you want to if your purpose is that big without doing that collaboration.
Yeah.
And you clearly love it. Like, that's the other thing. And that people buy from people, you know. That Simon Sinek video was so impactful for me right at the beginning of my career, which is the why. Finding out what your why is and how to sell to somebody. You start from your why you do what you do, how you do it, and what you do. So what you're selling is the last thing, but the why and the how are what people buy. They buy from people. So yeah, it's I love it. And it will keep growing. And it's so exciting to be part of this journey that you're on. Coaching is key. And I think our industry, so many people who have been trapped in loneliness, like they are isolated dog trainers or dog professionals that are like, no, I can't talk to other people. They'll judge me. They will compete with me. They'll steal my clients. They'll tell me that I'm not doing something right. And I think we really need to break down those walls and provide more therapy for each other. Because there's so many behaviourists out there who are therapists. They're walking into people's living rooms and hearing like the depths of people's stories. Like, you know, my mum died last year and, you know, my son's got this disease and the dog is chasing the cat. And you're like, they're not isolated. You're training and working with that whole family. So I think the more that dog trainers and behaviourists can talk to each other and support each other by doing either swapping coaching, creating some sort of therapy program. I think all dog trainers and behaviourists need therapists. We all need them.
I think so. Yeah.
Would absolutely agree. Absolutely. Oh, fab then. Well, to round it off then, we've got two final questions. So one is, out of everything we've kind of discussed today then, what would be your one top tip that you would leave the listeners with to move their journey forward?
My one top tip would be to take a step back and think about character development. Like, find a mentor or a coach, or somebody that you can trust. Trust that investing in them is going to be worth it for you in the long term. It really will. Every single penny of mentorship that you pay for is going to pay you back. And if you're not sure, do it for a season, do it for, 6 weeks or 6 months, and then stop and see what you've taken away from that. But find a good mentor that is interested in character development, and take the time to ask your why. Find out what your why is, because you'll hold it. No matter what else happens, you'll come back to that why. If you know what it is that brings you to life. Yeah.
Amazing. And then finally, who do you know that could come onto our podcast and help to spread our amazing message and uplift this industry even further?
Oh my goodness.
Everybody does this.
Loads of people. I need a list.
The pressure.
I mean, my first thought is Daniel Shaw. If you haven't already had Daniel Shaw, I would definitely get him on.
I'm speaking to him later, actually.
Chat.
Yeah, we're actually sponsoring his event he's doing at the end of the year.
Wicked. There we go. I'll be there. In fact, I'm hosting it.
Oh, amazing.
Yes, you are correct, obviously.
It's exciting. I get to speak this year as well. I'll be talking about dog fights and dog aggression in the realm of Parliament. But definitely Daniel Shaw. He is throwing big shapes in the industry, and he's got a beautiful mind, and he's wonderfully collaborative too. He's definitely in that sweet spot. I've got loads though. I thought I might just send you a little list afterwards. Is that helpful?
Do. Yeah, we need them. Oh, thank you so much, Hannah. Like, if people want to find out more about you and your book and all of and the podcast, how do they do that?
Yeah, sure. So you can go to my website, which is www.amplifiedbehaviour.com. And you can find me on social media under Amplified Behaviour or the Hannah Molloy. It varies. So you can help me in those spaces. And I'd love to see more of you all over the place. You can say hi.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much, Hannah. It's been lovely chatting to you.
Thanks for having me. Bless you. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Bye.